All right, well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to this meeting of Tampa Bay Water for Monday, September 16th. This meeting was noticed in the Florida Administrative Register and on the Tampa Bay Water website. The meeting is available for viewing through live streaming, and a recording of the meeting will be posted on the agency's website. At this time, I would ask our Vice Chair, Lisette Hanowitz, to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Kathleen, could we have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Cohen,
Here.
Councilmember Hanowitz,
Here.
Commissioner Eggers,
Here.
Mayor Davis,
Here.
Commissioner Mariano,
Here.
Councilman Miranda,
Here.
Commissioner Oakley,
Here.
Commissioner Scott,
Here.
Commissioner Woostel.
Here.
Mr. Chair, all members are present. We have a quorum.
Thank you very much. At this time, we're going to open our regular meeting. Are there any changes to today's agenda?
Chair, the only comment is I did send out a supplement, item A23, that you should have received on Tuesday, and that is now a part of the agenda.
All right. We are going to move on to public comment. We have two people signed up for public comment this morning. Each person will have 3 minutes. Our first speaker is David Ballard Geddes Jr. Good morning.
David Ballard Geddes Jr. I live on Georgia Avenue in Palm Harbor. Popperian falsification is defined as the method of manipulating research material or changing or omitting of data or construing of the process in an attempt to influence justification in truth, whereas not accurately representing research, intending to formulate an improperly concluded synopsis in truth reflective of such manipulated data used to contrive a bias in truth is commonly called a Popperian falsification. Karl Popper's principles of falsification is a truth that ultimately, using simple physics and geometry, proves itself later on to be a falsehood in future due time. For example, we the people, all men are created equal, yet in due time, as applied to Article 1, Section 2 of our current Constitution, the men composing we the people is one person out of every 30,000 inhabitants. We the people ultimately is a privileged and immune citizen of such as backlit and reflected under the 14th Amendment. Using time and physics, they're slowly formulating individual despotic water jurisdictions using our current Constitution as their bill of attainder and their form of reprisal. The rest of mankind, as deduced, Alexander Hamilton equates us as being equivalent to that of dogs in Federalist Paper number 11, and us dogs, as process of the 14th Amendment, are literally being eaten alive. In time, our subsistence, our liberty, property, and life are all being eaten up as process thereof. Another example of Popperian falsification is Florida Supreme Court case 96332, which claims the customer has unlimited use of reclaimed water, non-restricted amounts of reclaimed water. Yet today we now see that smart meters are being installed at every residential home. And in the near future, using the reclaimed water variance application to waylay our consent, the government ultimately intends to pump reclaimed water into our homes and charge us an annual user surveillance fee as based on Maloney's Water Code, Section 1.13, soldiering us inside of our homes under the Third Amendment to inspect and monitor reclaimed water use such as toilet flushing and laundry as
Mr. Geddes,
referenced in Dana
thank you very
Young's
much.
House Bill 639. This is a pauperian falsification. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. And our second speaker this morning is Mark Clutho. Good morning.
Mark Clutho, Largo, about that 14th Amendment. This is something else here. Long-term master water plan. What a joke. And you're talking about strategic plan. You can't even begin to think about strategic plan. You have 16 lights shining on the wall out there in your lobby. Why? You don't have any pictures hanging on the wall anymore. This was supposed to be a day-lit building. What kind of idiots are you? Oh, man. The headline reads, could the Gulf Stream be near a tipping point? Yeah, you'll bring it. You'll bring it. Even as climate risks rise, short-term thinking prevails. Yeah. Most of you are wearing coats. You need those, don't you? Yeah. And then the headline says, monarch butterfly numbers have dropped this summer in the Midwest. Want to see coral reefs grow? Freeze them. Oh, yeah. And then we have here this tree down in South Florida, gone. Not really a tree, it's cacti, but no more because of the sea level rise. Yeah, you're doing your best to further all this. And then we have the mosquitoes and West Nile virus. And this is what you're bringing because of your stupidity. And look at those kuntis out there, all being mutilated. How stupid are you? A bunch of morons.
Thank you.
Need to go.
We are going to move on now to our consent agenda. There have not been any items pulled for discussion, so at this time, we would entertain a vote.
Move for approval.
Second.
I'm sorry, who made the
I
motion?
believe that,
And the second, sorry. Thank you.
please record your vote.
Mr. Chair, the motion passed unanimously.
Thank you very much. We are going to move on now to our regular agenda, and I will turn the meeting over to Mr. Carden.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning. I'd like to start my report with the progress we made on the selling of the 2024 bonds. As you know, last month, the board approved me or delegated authority to execute financing for the construction of certain capital improvements and also refinance a portion of our existing debt. Bonds were priced and sold last Tuesday, and they had very good results. The market was very active last week, as they tell me. There was between $15 and $17 billion scheduled to price that week. And just on Tuesday alone, $6 billion was on the market. The financing was well received by the market. We received 234 orders on the tax-exempt 24A and B bonds and 60 orders for the taxable 24C bonds. The true interest cost was 4.24%, and the all-in interest cost was 4.27%. Also, I would like to just remind everybody the Water Protection and Conservation Mini Grant Program is in full swing. We are receiving submissions for the 2025 Water Protection and Conservation Grants through November 22nd, 2024. These grants range between $2,000 and $10,000, and they're available to community groups, nonprofits, schools, and universities, and any other groups that could bring forth a proposal to us. We have also increased the total amount available from $30,000, as we've been giving in prior years, up to $50,000, and we are also accepting proposals for conservation projects. The awardees will be presented at our January 25 board meeting. As you know, we are also taking steps to implement a continuous improvement program throughout the agency. One of the key steps involved us buying a software program that helps us house our controlled documents, which are our policies, processes, and procedures. We launched that program this past spring, and we have loaded and revised or drafted more than 100 controlled documents to date. Also, we've held a series of workshops to define and prioritize the agency's core and support and management processes. We are also preparing to kick off an improvement contributor program that will encourage agency-wide staff involvement. Next week, I believe, on the 27th, I will be presenting at the upcoming Tri-County meeting. It's being hosted by Pinellas County at Ruth Eckerd Hall. And I'm also getting on schedules for all of your board dates through October through December. And so I've already presented at Pinellas County, and I am pretty much on all the schedules now. A couple outreach slides we have. Last month, we exhibited at the Mosey's Children's Board Family Day. This is where families receive free admission to the museum, and we got to teach them about our water resources and play our interactive source water protection cornhole game. Just on Saturday, our staff participated in the Youth Environment Summit held by the Roots and Shoots Alliance at Tropicana Field. Staff also led an edible aquifer activity, and there were 60 students who learned about geology of the aquifer. Following the activity, students and the public visited Tampa Bay Water's table in the Expo Hall and got more information on their drinking water supply. And just yesterday, fresh off the presses, our staff, along with Commissioner Mariano, helped the Girl Scouts of West Central Florida celebrate the grand opening of their Wonders of Water educational hub at Camp Indian Echo. This project is one of those funded by the Tampa Bay Water our Conservation and Protection mini grant program that I spoke to you about earlier. The educational hub engages the Girl Scouts in hands-on educational activities to learn more about the water cycle. And Commissioner Mariano spoke on behalf of Tampa Bay Water at the event at Daisy Lake, I believe.
Yes, great day.
Thank you. And at this point, I'll be happy to entertain any questions before I turn it over to Mr. Hogg.
Commissioner Scott?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for that report, Chuck. That's really great news on the bond issue. The 4.27% all-in interest cost. Just remind me, how did that square with our budget projections in terms of what were we what did we plan the budget out on that compared to where we ultimately ended up?
I'll ask Christina, Chief Finance Officer, please.
Good morning, Commissioner Scott. So we had the not to exceed amounts in there of like 5.25%. We were thinking that we were going to end up about 4.3. So we did come in a little bit less than what we had thought that we were going to end up at.
Okay, but we were factoring, was the 4.3 the number we used in the budget projections when we were looking at the bond payments out into the future, or was it that
Yes.
5.25?
Yes.
Okay, so we did slightly better.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Eggers?
Yeah, just, that was one of two questions. Thank you, Commissioner Scott. The other one was, just for perspective, I love the idea of having our 100 control documents online. How far along is that? Is that halfway? Is that 10%? Is it, just give me a sense of the climb we have.
I would say off the top of cuff, about halfway there would be my answer to you.
Okay, great.
We're making great progress.
Keep up the good work.
Commissioner Mariano?
Just to say, I had a long talk with staff about the bond issuances, et cetera, and wondering if we were better off waiting a little bit longer. But I think after dissecting even further, that I'm very comfortable that we did get the market to respond to what was going to happen instead of just letting it happen, then go respond. So appreciate your time.
Commissioner Whistle?
Just, Ms. Sackett, thank you. Over the past 21 months of me dealing with various agencies, oftentimes when I ask for financial information, I'm left with more questions than answers. And you seem to be an outlier. It's always very, very clear to me what we're talking about, and I appreciate that.
Thank you. All right.
Yeah, let's, Mr. Hogg, will tell us how well the system's doing, and I think some pretty good news.
Yeah, we've had a lot of rain.
Good morning,
Morning.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I do have a much happier report this morning, so I have some good numbers for you. My summary this morning will cover our regional water supplies and how our system has responded and with the status of our permits. As I've been discussing with you throughout the year, we did have the good fortune of having about average rainfall for our winter and early spring months. Did get hot and dry for a little while, but we have more than made up for that in the summer months. Beginning in July with the hurricane, we've been receiving regular afternoon rains, as we should, and they've been falling in the headwaters of the river basins. So it has sustained very high river flows. For the month of August, we averaged over 12 inches of rain, and so far for the month of September, we've averaged 6.3. So, and that was as of Friday. So we're less than 1 inch shy for the entire month of September. So we will finish out the water year in a good spot. And because of all this heavy rain from the hurricane and the sustained rains, we've been averaging about 200 million gallons of water per day into the reservoir. And that's in addition to about 80 million a day we've been using from the surface water plant. So an extremely beneficial summer for us. Those rains have erased the drought conditions in our area. For the state, the only area that's recording any drought or abnormally dry conditions are over on the Space Coast and up in the panhandle of the state. We did exit the stage 1 water shortage condition at the end of August because there was almost a 1 inch surplus in rainfall, 0.8 inches at the end of August, and also a 4 million gallon per day flow surplus in the Hillsborough River. So those were the two triggers that we needed to come out of the stage 1 water shortage condition. However, we only need to look back a year ago to see how quickly conditions can change. If you look at the left-hand side of the graphs, we did decline about 8 inches on the rainfall scale in 1 month, from August to September, because the September rainfall was that low last year. Between August and October, the Hillsborough River flow declined about 100 million gallons a day in those 2 months, and both of those are 12-month averages, so those are significant drops. And I only bring that out to highlight that's why it's so important for us to continue the 1 day a week watering restrictions as specified by the Water Management District, and their emergency order is in place until the end of the calendar year, December 31st. But the fact that we have managed our way through a year of drought conditions, we have now exited, but we managed to stay in compliance with our consolidated permit, store so much water in the reservoir, and meet demands 24/7 demonstrates the power of the interconnected and adaptable system that we've built over the past 25 years. We have delivered an average of 200.21 million gallons per day to you for the water year to date through August. It's slightly less than where we were last year, but it's slightly above our budget projection of 197.7 million gallons a day for the current year. We would have had higher demands had we not been fortunate with rainfall. Back in that dry time last year into October, early November was at the end of that very hot and dry period. We had demands that were going through the roof, but the cooler, wetter weather, the one-day-a-week restrictions have really helped us to meet our permits, supply demand, and store water. This is my happiest graph. We've been showing this for a number of months. The orange line at the top of the graph is what we project the reservoir storage will be as we start the beginning of the year. So back in October, the orange line shows where we expected the reservoir to be, not where we wanted it to be, but where we thought we would be. The blue shading shows the actual storage volume in the reservoir, and this is on a month-by-month basis. Where you see the very sharp declines in the blue line from October through January, and again from April through June, those were very dry times, and we were using water from the reservoir to maintain production at our surface water plant. We have been very fortunate this summer with the rainfall. At the beginning of September, we were at 10.1 billion gallons. As of last night, we were at a storage volume of 12.96 billion gallons. That's a phenomenal number. I love numbers, so I'll mention that in the month of August alone, we added 6.44 billion gallons to the reservoir in a single month. That's 200 million gallons a day every day. We do expect to have the reservoir full at the end of this month or the very beginning of October. We have less than 2.5 billion gallons to go, and at our current rate, that's about 1 billion gallons every 5 days. So the fact that we have recovered our storage, we've done all this without the desalination plant for the full year. This is a testament to the resilience of our surface water system. It sustains us when it's dry. When it's wet, we can recover that storage deficit. The consolidated water use permit 12-month running average is shown by the orange line in this graph. The dark blue bars are what we have produced each month for the last 2 years, and the sole light blue bar on the right side is what we expect for the month of September. Our permit limit is 90 million gallons per day, and through the end of August, our 12-month running average was 88.32 million gallons per day. At this point, we will stay under our permit limit for this year, and we expect to remain under for the coming year as we get back into normal climate conditions, normal operation conditions. We do, however, keep an eye on what we're doing right now to make sure that we're not going to put ourselves in a position next year to jeopardize a permit limit.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Thank you. Warren, great report. I'm all about that reservoir. I can't hardly imagine pumping 200 million gallons a day in that reservoir, but the fact of it is we're getting close. East Pasco County is still flooded, and you've got more and more water coming to the Tampa Bay area where you could capture it if we had another reservoir. So that has to kind of shine as the possibility in the future, having another reservoir at least half this size or bigger or the same size for the future. Because the way it works and the process y'all go through to water, as much as you can save from pumping land on these well fields is better for everybody. So for the future, we need to, that should be one of the projects, and I know we're going to look at it.
We are going to look at that as we start the feasibility studies for the surface water projects in our master water plan. We are evaluating the cost benefit of a second reservoir. How often do these high flows come? What would it add to our system for both sustainable supply and reliability? So we'll be working through that over the next couple of years and be bringing back those feasibility studies for your consideration.
Be good. Thank you.
Commissioner Scott?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and Commissioner Oakley asked part of my question. The other part of it, can we fit any more than 15 billion gallons in the current reservoir?
15.5 billion is our maximum capacity, and we don't stage up above that because we need to leave freeboard in case we get some tropical rains late in the season. With the wind that comes with them, we want to prevent the reservoir from overtopping the berm. So 15.5 is our full elevation for the existing reservoir.
Great, thank you.
Yes, Commissioner Mariano.
So I was thinking along the same line as Commissioner Oakley is, how do we get more water into the reservoir? And can we use maybe water from different flooded areas like Zephyr Hills? If there was a pipeline we could set up, because literally all that water that's there right now, if you could get it off the streets, it would be better for everybody. And I think just in case it gets drier in October, instead of waiting for it to fill up, if we could find a way to work with maybe our stormwater team or even other stormwater teams to try to find a way to get more water to the reservoir during the heavy storm season, it would be a really good project, I think.
Okay. I do have two more slides to wrap up our focus on the South Hillsborough County area. The demands in this area did very rapidly increase last year, and that is shown by two things: the height of the total bar and the orange line that's trending up. The orange line is the 12-month running average demand in the service area, and the bars are built in three parts to show the water we deliver through the 3 points of connection that go to South Hillsborough County. The orange line did rapidly increase in 2023, and that was due to the very hot, dry weather we had and very high demands. 1 day a week watering restrictions and enforcement of those restrictions have played a key part in bringing that down, and also returning to the cooler, drier weather we had during the winter. The service area has averaged 55.9 million gallons per day over the past year, and that's actually about 1.2 million gallons a day less than we were a year ago, as we were starting to hit the peak of that high increase due to the climate that we had. The South Central Wellfield running average has gradually declined to 25.18 million gallons per day, slightly higher than our permit average of 24.95, but we are making progress to get close to or to that limit. We do expect for the coming months, however, to remain right around that permit limit, slightly above, slightly below, and we'll continue to update you with our status. And in the next one or two board meetings, we'll come back with our forecast of what we expect for the coming water year. That concludes my prepared remarks, but I'd be happy to answer any other questions.
Yes, there are some additional questions. Commissioner Westall.
Thank you. Mine is just about the South Hillsborough pipeline. I was looking in consent. We approved the list of parcels that we still need, and this is just really a topic of capacity, and as we see it growing and a growing need. The consent is that we have 234 parcels needed. In August, we only closed on 4 of them. That was for segments A and B total. And I guess I'm just concerned as this line goes, are we having a holdup on the amount of parcels that we're supposed to be closing on to stay on our timeline? Or is this just a natural delay that we're seeing?
Yeah, good morning. Yeah, we have seen a lot of movement. We have approved over, I will have to say, over 50 purchase and sale agreements through this voluntary acquisition period. So they're moving where we are working on at this point is developing the legals and sketches and descriptions that will be included as on the packages that will be closing. But we're moving. It's a little bit slow in that process, but we're making a great progress, I will have to say that.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, and I'll just say, Commissioner, this month at A15 is a table, the first time we put that out there, and it's going to give you, this every board meeting, so you can watch our progress. And there, it's very, I think there's only a couple, but, there's going to be, this next report will be over 50 or so. So they're moving quickly. They just.
May I suggest that there's a column for us to be able to track that says this was the anticipated and this was the actual close numbers?
Okay.
So, thank you very much.
Commissioner Eggers, did you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, again, perspective is always helpful, so we know how much to panic. I think back to December of last year when we were, the desal plant was going down, the drought was in full bloom. I was worried, always calling the operations manager to find out, how are we doing? Obviously our capacity or the amount we had in the reservoir was dwindling, and it was just a great time for comfort. But I really appreciate the management effort. I appreciate all of the rain dancing that our staff has been doing on a weekly basis, because at the end of the day, getting back to normal rains is clearly what we need. I just am overwhelmed by the last month and how much we've added to the reservoir. It's just incredible. Somehow, I'm not sure how the midterm next 5 to 20 years, 10 years or whatever, what kind of weather patterns we're going to see. But having that, I call it the shock absorber of that reservoir is extremely important. And if it needs a second one or a way to refill the reservoir faster, I think those are things that definitely need to be on our horizon, because at the end of the day, we got to have water. And when we talk about getting that low on the reservoir and being susceptible, it is nerve-wracking. But the system does work. I mean, the interconnected system does work. And again, the vision of our, the folks that started this thing back in the late 90s, early 2000s is amazing. And think through that film that was put together about how much rancor there was and uncertainty and second guessing and all of that, and yet they stuck to their guns and they invested billions in water delivery to this region and got rid of their water wars. And again, it kind of actually the elected folks really did come forward. A lot of times they say the regional strength is going to be held back by our politicians. I think in that case, it really worked wonderfully to make a reality of it. So continued success and keep up the great work. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Commissioner Scott?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you very much, Warren. Always appreciate your perspective on all this stuff. So I know we're studying the cost-benefit analysis of additional reservoir. Do we have currently in our portfolio enough land? Do we have land right now available? If we were going to recreate another reservoir, do we have land to do it?
We don't have the acreage in hand, but there are other lands that are owned by others, by the Water Management District or local government or private entities that we could approach to acquire land of sufficient size to build a second reservoir. Okay. So we do have some ideas on location, either somewhere right around our existing reservoir or further south to match up to a potential new water supply from 2 new river sources for us. So we've got some thoughts on where those would be located, and we've already started scouting who might we approach for those parcels.
Okay, great, thank you.
Yes.
I'm just going to add to the reservoir conversation. When I had my meeting with Chuck, I mean, the fact that we had 40 days straight at maximum capacity is unreal. And I think we all know throughout the region the flooding that's been happening because we've heard about the flooding. So I think it would be a fantastic investment. I'm echoing everyone else's thoughts on this, something that we need to explore, given also that, the storms are getting stronger is what we are seeing recently. And if that continues, we may have more of this happening in the future.
And this got kicked off by one hurricane that wasn't that powerful, and we didn't have any wind damage. We were just fortunate to be in the right spot of it to receive that rainfall that finished filling up the basins and started the flow.
Very, very thankful for the rain. I mean, not thankful for flooding in areas throughout our cities, but thankful for the rain and the fact that we were able to refill our reservoir. Thank you so much.
I want to just close out this conversation by adding that I think it's been said beautifully by everyone that this agency did an outstanding job of managing the water situation throughout the last year. The very real fear, I think, that all of us had when we saw the drought combined with the desal being offline and we were watching the reservoir levels dwindle, there's a very real concern that kicked in, and our citizens responded, our local governments responded, people took the water restrictions very seriously. We've made a lot of moves to move to permanent 1 day a week watering throughout the region, which I think clearly would be a benefit to us. But more than anything, it was the management of our resources that got us through this. And I think it just to underscore the points that have already been made, it really validated our approach. And I think it's a great idea to look at another reservoir. I think we should, because we see what we can do when we're actually able to manage the water. So again, I just think this was an outstanding way to end the fiscal year and put us on a road toward water security.
Yes, sir. And I would, just like to echo everyone's thoughts. It was an enlightening year, I will tell you that. We learned some things. Our system is resilient. We lost our desal. It's one of our tools. And so the drought and everything, it looks pretty grim. We would never run out of water. We would just have to go over and use a lot of groundwater. But now we're thinking, we have several meetings about how do we have, can we get more than 200 million gallons in that at a maximum? And so we're going to look at that. We're going to also look at land and other projects, just like we've been talking about. But I did want to say before we close this that I would really like to express thanks to the district, the Southwest Florida Water Management District. Were partners with us in this whole thing. We were on the phone with them, we communicated with them, and they did a lot of things to help us, extending the 1 day a week watering, and also allowing us the 19% of the Alafia, which is still in effect. So they were true partners in working with us. In the city of Tampa as well, they rely solely on the river source, so they were in sort of the same place we were. And we talked a lot and worked it out so that we could both get through this. So it was good teamwork.
Well, that's a great way to close the discussion, I think, is to acknowledge that it was a matter of teamwork. That should be the end of the meeting. All right, thank you very much. We are going to move on now to our action items. We have 3 this morning. The first is the Tampa Bay WaterWise program update, and that will be given by Amelia Brown. Good morning.
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. I'm going to be providing a brief update on the Tampa Bay WaterWise program, followed by a request for approval of a new contract with Electric and Gas Industries Association, the third-party rebate administrator for the program. So far, this year has been the biggest year for the program in terms of water savings, particularly in the multifamily and homeowner sectors. We've completed 15 large multifamily retrofit projects, installed 126 smart irrigation controllers, and issued over 1,600 homeowner toilet rebates. EGIA, the rebate administrator and marketing manager, now has about 2.25 full-time equivalent outreach managers actively promoting the program throughout the region. And through our partnership with an industrial recycling facility, we've recycled about 1,000 toilets that we've helped to replace. The image that you see here is a social media post of a TV ad that we've been running on streaming TV platforms. The water saved this year to date is just over 216,000 gallons per day, which exceeds our minimum target goal of about 150,000 gallons per day. We're in the process of analyzing billing data, and that is going to tell us the actual water savings of this year. And we expect a significant bump in this year's savings from our multifamily projects, as we've seen in previous years. As a reminder, our high goal for 2030 is to save 3.8 million gallons per day. To date, we've saved just over 500,000 gallons per day since the program launched, and the year-end analysis will get us closer, if not at, our high goal for this year. And when I present to you again in a couple months, I'll be providing the year-end analysis, and we'll share these results. Now we'll shift our focus to the contract with EGIA. So Electric and Gas Industries Association, EGIA, has been the third-party rebate administrator for the program since 2019. They manage the website, review rebate applications, send the rebate checks to customers, and implement practices ensuring data security and fraud prevention. They implement and manage numerous marketing initiatives, too many to list here, and they track the performance of each of these efforts so that we optimize our marketing activities and our marketing spend. EGIA was the successful bidder for the next 5-year contract, and the contract total is a little over $10,800,000. And it's comprised of the following 3 components. A little over $7 million is for rebates that are paid to customers, so it is a pass-through to EGIA, ultimately to the customer. $3.6 million is to EGIA for the administration and marketing, and then there is $100,000 owner allowance as well. Staff recommends board approval of contract number 2024-024 with Electric and Gas Industries Association, Inc., for a 5-year contract in the amount of $10,868,719. I'm happy to take any questions.
Commissioner Mariano.
Thank you. I'm looking at this, and I'm looking at the $3 million plus for the administration and marketing.
Okay.
From my tolling out, it's not a lot of money is actually going to the rebates. Can you tell me how many rebates were issued in the past year, total dollar amount?
Well, I wish I had that number off the top of my head. Maybe 2,000, approximately. And some of those,
total.
The dollar total, I don't have that number off the top of my head.
All right. So the way I look at this, I did a toilet exchange myself. I bought the highest performer. It was $100, I think either $80 or $100 rebate. My daughter did one. It was a little bit newer. She got like a $40 rebate. If you break down the totals of what we're offering, I think it's really low. I would rather see us take a whole look at this. By the way, this is like you just had one person respond to this bid, which to me, that usually would tell you there's a problem with the setup. This shouldn't be this hard to get some people to bid on this contract. But I would rather see us focus more on the amount of rebates going to people. I wouldn't mind talking to the executives at Home Depot and Lowe's, because frankly, when you go there, it shows you right on the form. There's a URL code that you can just click on and get to the information to it. We had a person that we contracted when we started doing toilet rebates 20 years ago that monitored the toilets to come in once they get exchanged, once the things are processed. I got to think we paid him a lot less money than what we're paying here. So I think we really need to take a closer look at this going forward. I just think $3.6 million to go run this program, and not even knowing, like frankly, a little scary, not even knowing how much money actually get to the customers, because that's your incentive person, right? That's where the market's going to be driven. If you have plumbers more involved, maybe that they they're going to get paid? Because right now, there's no allocation to pay a plumber to go do this. If you had a plumber that knew he'd get paid, or it could incentivize his people that's doing a home remodel to upgrade, or even just maybe less expensive homes that can't afford to go do it, I think we could do a lot better than what we're doing. And the chart they showed us, we only go back 2 years. I would like to see what the chart would show us going back the full 5 years, what this contract's done and where we've actually gone. Because it seems like we're moving up, and I think you're doing a fine job. But I think the incentives are skewed where it's not having near the impact it could have.
Commissioner Eggers.
Yeah, a lot of the comments that Commissioner Mariano made kind of were swirling around a little bit. And the 3.6 out of the total of 10, really the amount of administration is 50% of the, of the amount of dollars that are going towards the actual rebates. So I don't know if ramping up, getting more incentives to get the rebate totals up keeps that administration cost in check. In other words, is that more of a fixed cost? Is that a variable cost? Because if we raise that number up, I think the 7 million, it becomes a little more palatable in terms of what that group is delivering. And having said that, I have no idea what the norm is. We're not getting any bids on this. I don't know how this stacks up. So they may be doing a great job with these numbers, although it doesn't feel that way. Or they may be doing a really bad job with the numbers. And again, I just have no, again, perspective seems to be the word of the morning. So the number of bidders concerns me. Rebate amounts concern me. And then again, I think we had that long-term perspective on what we were hoping to accomplish. And I do think it is an incremental thing. It's just, it doesn't feel like you're making much progress sometimes, but those incremental amounts, they start to add up. But the noise in the community, there's so much noise out there, but you don't hear much. I mean, and again, I know it's very targeted, but I think this is something that we could do better on. But again, encourage us to look at that a little bit more. I'd like to, see another year maybe and try to see what we can do to change that bid process parameters for a new 5-year contract, maybe a year from now. But just a thought. Thank you, ma'am.
Commissioner Wastel.
Thank you. I know you said you don't have the exact dollar amounts, but do you know if these ratios of administrative costs versus rebates is similar to the current 5-year contract? The ratio stayed the same?
So these figures are based on our long-term projection, achieving our high goal, because we wanted to make sure that we had enough in the contract to pay for all the rebates that would allow us to reach our high goal. And when we looked at our high and low goal, I can go back to that image, we took into account, we modeled these costs in both scenarios. And in both scenarios, the cost of the program comes in under $1 per 1,000 gallons, which is very competitive and favorable compared with the cost of new supply. On the low end, I believe it's maybe 90 cents per 1,000 gallons. On the high end, it comes in at about 60 cents per 1,000 gallons. And if I may break down these costs a little for you, the administration and marketing, for that combined total, less than 1/3 is for administrative costs, and about half of that is fixed, and half of it is variable depending on how many rebates we issue. So it's not all baked in. And then for the marketing fees, this does include the full-time staff who have been able to achieve the largest amount of savings for this program through the outreach efforts that they do. So that is definitely a desirable part of this investment in those marketing costs.
And is there a due date, or does this have to be done today, Mr. Cardin? Do we know when the current contract expires?
It's expiring at the end of this month, I believe.
At the end of October.
Let me ask you, this is a 5-year contract, but is it divisible? Is it something that we could continue for a year and then, give ourselves an opportunity to perhaps take a more holistic look at the entire program and the way that we're doing it?
I think that would be a question for legal about the contract.
You know that?
Yeah, I would have to look at the parameters, but I'm sure it was bid out as a 5-year contract, so that's what they're providing. So if we were to switch that to a 1-year would be hard to do today because that may change the bidder's desired figures. But it's, I think you said this expires, the current contract expires at the end of October.
October.
So you do have one meeting flexibility if there's just additional information you want in order to, or that conversation then could be potentially had and may affect the bidding process.
Okay, let me go to Commissioner Scott and then Councilwoman Hanowitz, and then I will, we'll see if we can come up with a way to address there's some commonality to some of the concerns that have been addressed here.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Actually, my question was answered, so thank you very much.
Okay, thanks. Councilwoman.
I was thinking along the lines of what you were thinking, to see if there was more flexibility in terms of the contract that's currently in place, to see if we can extend it and have the conversations on this. I don't like the fact there was only one bidder on this. It's a 5-year contract. It's $100 still for the old toilets, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so I remember doing this, and I want to say it was at least 15 years ago, and I got $100. I'm pretty sure $100 is not the same.
Would it
now,
be?
So I'm in agreement that maybe we should look and see if we can.
Well, perhaps we could defer it for a month, and we can work on the item and see where it stands in terms of. Mayor, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I just have a question. When you say that there's a fixed price and then there's a variable price, is the variable price also dependent on, is it a percentage of how much money the rebates are, or is it just because of the volume?
It's a price per rebate. So for example, it's $9 per toilet rebate, all the way up to maybe a max of $40 per rebate when the rebate amount is more expensive, like for the shallow wells or Florida Water Star.
Councilman Miranda, did you want to?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, thank you. And I agree with my colleagues. I believe that $7 million rebate paid to customers is fine. However, that sets a bar of what you're already getting. So it doesn't, I don't know is there anything else in the contract that floats it up or down based on the performance? Or is it just set on that number of $7,098,750 rebate paid to customers?
So that's the amount of money that would be available through this contract to pay customers for rebates if we issue that many rebates.
I understand that, but the customer, the one that's getting the EGIA, then they have very little incentive to go beyond that and try to do better. From what I read here, there's just a set mark and a set price.
I see. Actually, there is an incentive and a penalty clause. So there is a $20,000 incentive if EGIA achieves water savings above our high goal, and a $20,000 fee penalty if they achieve less than our minimum goal.
Okay, thank you.
I think at this time, I'm going to ask for a motion to defer this item to our next meeting and give the general manager and our general counsel the charge to go back and review our discussion here and answer some of the questions and provide us with some options. Commissioner
Yeah, and
Eggers?
that would include, I hope, checking with the supplier to see if they would do a 1-year extension as an option for us to consider next month.
Great, and that you're going to be the maker of the motion.
There you go.
And that's what it is, and it's now been seconded by Councilman Miranda, and it's to defer it with those provisos. Please record your vote when it pops up on the motion to defer.
I'm sorry, it was added, it's just not showing.
I'm sorry, what was that?
Let me change it. Sorry.
Well, why don't we have a voice vote on that? All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We are going to move on now to item C2, which is the surface water treatment plant expansion. And Adrian Arcuri is going to present this item. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. Agenda item C2 is an action item for the surface water treatment plant expansion project. A project status update will also be provided. At the end of this presentation, I will be asking you for your approval for a contract change order for early equipment procurement. The surface water treatment plant expansion project was selected as the next water supply project for the region, with a proposed completion by the end of 2028. The main goal of this project is to increase the water supply capacity available for the region by 10 to 12.5 million gallons per day. Additional objectives of the project include improving reliability and resiliency, optimizing the treatment processes, and site planning to reserve space for potential future water treatment enhancements. The surface water treatment plant expansion project will be completed by using the progressive design-build method through an amendment to the existing design-build-operate contract with Veolia Water North America. Preliminary design of the project has been underway since May of 2023, when the Veolia contract amendment for design services was approved. The alternatives evaluation and 10% design for the project was completed in October of 2023. This included workshops focused on key design alternatives for each treatment process area of the surface water treatment plant. An initial construction cost estimate was completed at the end of the 10% design, followed by value engineering efforts. After selecting the primary design options, the project progressed to the 30% design level, which included some preliminary drawings and specifications, along with an updated cost estimate. The construction cost estimates associated with the 10% and the 30% design phases were shared as a part of the project status update presented to the board in July. The 60% design submittal and cost estimate are being submitted and reviewed this month. This slide shows the upcoming major milestones requiring board approval. In October, we will be requesting board approval of the environmental resources permit application. We will also be requesting approval for engineering services, scope, and fee to complete the final design. The second guaranteed maximum price for additional early equipment procurement items is planned to be presented at the November board meeting for approval. And a final GMP, or guaranteed maximum price, will be submitted to the board for approval in February of 2025. This will include the cost for completing the construction of the project. Construction is planned to begin in the summer of 2025 and be completed by the end of 2027. 2 guaranteed maximum price packages are anticipated for procurement of long lead equipment. These early equipment procurement packages will allow us to maintain our current construction schedule. Early equipment procurement package number 1 includes the ozone system, ActiFlow, and transformers. Staff is recommending board approval of the negotiated change order for early equipment procurement package number 1 in the amount of $8,325,272. Mr. Chairman, this concludes my presentation. I'll be glad to take any questions you may have.
Thank you. Commissioner Eggers.
Again, I think, appreciate the presentation. And so along the way, we've had an estimate on this project cost, and we'll start to really hone in on these different steps come forward. So just getting a sense of that, how we're doing. I think it's great to get this stuff ahead of time. The only question I would ask, is there any reason for us to panic on what we're anticipating the cost to be versus what we've been hoping the cost to be along the way? Because we're doing this early purchase not knowing that piece of the pie. So if you could just give us, I know we got that 10 and 30% estimate, but are we seemingly on track so that this becomes a really good idea instead of not so good?
Yes. So the very first cost estimate that we got, understandably, was very high because we were still defining our requirements. Once we did the value engineering, we were able to bring that cost down significantly at the 30% design. Right now, what we're doing is refining costs. We're looking at projected costs of construction equipment. We're looking at any potential risks that we might have during the construction phase. So we might see some minor fluctuation with this 60% design cost, but we will have time to work with our design builder to bring those back within the project budget.
I love value engineering. That's just great stuff. Thank you.
Commissioner Scott.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a quick point of clarification, and thank you very much for the presentation. So the additional capacity from 10 to 12.5 million, it's not 2.5 we're adding, right? It's 10 to 12.5 million?
That's correct.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
No problem.
All right. At this point, can we have a motion?
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilwoman Hanowitz and a second from Councilman Miranda. All in favor, please record your vote.
Mr. Chair, the motion passed unanimously.
Okay, thank you very much. We are going to move on to our third action item this morning, and this is a general engineering and professional services contract. And Chuck, I think you are presenting this item.
Yes, this item is for general engineering and professional services with Environmental Science Associates. It's for permit required maintenance and the recertification of our stormwater management systems. We have ongoing obligations that are set out in our environmental resource permit for 29 sites. They require ongoing maintenance, inspection, and certification of the surface water management systems. So this, the services under this contract will provide assistance to the agency in maintaining compliance with our ERP regulatory requirements. The recommended services are for $2,374,000 over a period of 5 years. And staff is recommending approval of the contract.
All right, I see no questions or comments. Can we please have a motion?
Move approval.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion from Councilwoman Hanowitz, seconded by Commissioner Whistle. Please record your vote.
Mr. Chair, the motion passed unanimously.
Thank you very much. We have one presentation this morning. It will be given by Shane Johnson, our Continuous Improvement Director, and it is the update on our Tampa Bay Water Strategic Plan progress. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. My name is Shane Johnson, and I serve as the Continuous Improvement Director here for Tampa Bay Water. And today's strategic plan update will provide you with information on our progress and show that Tampa Bay Water is on track with our strategic plan. This presentation is for information only, and no board action will be requested today. Tampa Bay Water's current strategic plan was approved by the board at its September 2023 meeting. This plan is a critical component of the agency's continuous improvement framework. The strategic plan aims to align resources, enhance efficiency, boost quality, foster innovation, engage employees, and ensure sustainability. Our plan follows the GOST structure, also known as goals, objectives, strategies, and tactics. The goals are what we want to achieve. Objectives is how we measure achievement. Plan or strategies is our plan that we believe will lead to success. And tactics are the steps to get the job done. It's at the base level that we have measured progress. The current board-approved plan contains 6 goals and 18 objectives. A strategic goal is a long-term, broad objective that our agency aims to achieve. It is the peak of our strategic plan and outlines the direction and priorities of this agency. These goals align with our mission and vision and what we want to achieve by 2027. These goals were revised and approved by the board in the 2023 update. The annual review and update process begins in July with goal-centric workshops on tactical progress and business environment scans. In August, we were reserved for proposed changes. However, we had no changes this year to our 6 goals and 18 objectives. Today, I'm providing a strategic plan progress update. In addition, in the consent items is our annual performance metrics. In October, we will conduct tactical workshops for fiscal year 26. They will be used in development for the proposed budget for December-January timeframe. The first step in reviewing a strategic plan is to review the continued alignment of each tactic. Tampa Bay Water may determine certain tactical approaches no longer align with our current needs for any number of reasons. After evolving our tactical plan, we now have 101 current tactics. Out of those 101 current tactics, 14 of them were newly added this July. To stay strategic, we will continue to review our tactics each quarter as we move forward. Next, we look at the progress of each tactic. Of the 101 current tactics, we see that significant progress is being made. However, with 18 tactics removed and 14 added, the progress metrics were affected. Over a third of the current tactics have been completed. Just above another quarter are in progress, with just under half of those are prioritized to be completed by the end of this calendar year. 88% of those in progress are still on or ahead of schedule. The tactics that are behind schedule are in their final phase of completion and plan to be closed out before the new fiscal year. The remaining 40% of our tactics have not hit their commencement date. Here you see 6 goals that were updated in 2023 with a representation of tactics completion. The blue bar that you see is the percentage of tactics completed, which was reported on last year's update. I will show you with an orange bar the progress that we have made in the past year. The orange bar is the percentage of tactics completed this year after adjusting our tactical plan. Each year, as additional tactics are identified and adopted into our plan, the average tactical progress will initially recede, which you see highlighted in Goal 1 with a faded orange bar to represent a recession of 4%. The benchmark moved from 30% last year to 50% this year, showing we are halfway into our 5-year plan. All goal progress are at or above the benchmark. 100% completion of tactics only means all current identified tactics have been completed and not that we have achieved our goal. To monitor our goals, the agency has developed, continues to refine, and presents to you each month our overall performance dashboard as a consent agenda item. And to celebrate success, we have completed 2 of the 18 objectives that I wanted to highlight. First objective under Goal 1 is to continually evaluate options to enhance water quality and public health protection. We have established a process to partner with Knowledge to Implementation, as also known as K2I program, to help identify solutions for member governments and Tampa Bay Water quality opportunities. Tampa Bay Water is available to work with the member government utilities to find solutions and help optimize their operations. Tampa Bay Water also has a process for source water assessment and protection to protect our regional water sources. Chairman and members of the board, you have assisted in this accomplishment by approving a project co-funded by the Florida Department of Environmental Protection to look for partnerships and project concepts to restore water quality in the Alafaya River Basin. The board also approves the annual budget, which contains source water assessment protection initiatives each year. Second objective, under Goal 4, we have increased collaboration in member governments on water-related communications that in turn increases audience reach. For example, PFAS and water use restriction communications are some notable recent collaborations. There are many other ways we collaborate with our members, and the quantity of these efforts are tracked in the board performance dashboard under stakeholder outreach. We will continue to look for and provide regular opportunities for collaboration with member governments to improve relationships and level of service. To take away, we have 60% of our 101 current tactics completed or in progress and have reached 2 objectives. The staff believes that we are on track with our current strategic plan. This concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Commissioner Westall.
Thank you. Can you just walk me through a little bit of the things that you're working on Goal 3 to eventually reach that 100% by 2027? That's your financial stability goal. Some of the things you've already done, you bumped it up to 50% this year. Can you just walk me through what some of those improvements were?
I don't have the actual ones in front of me. I can get back to you with that.
That's fine. Thank you.
Commissioner Eggers.
2 things. One, kind of a general comment, and then a very specific one. But the importance of this plan, I think, is not lost on me. we had a similar one developed before, and there was a long time in getting accomplished what we needed to get accomplished, and it created a lot of issues and problems and with the previous general manager. So this is extremely important stuff, and I appreciate the work that you're doing, keeping us up to speed on things and making sure that we're doing the work that this board has charged you with and charged our folks with. So that was the first thing. I like the last comment about increased collaboration with member governments. I would just challenge the Tampa Bay Water staff to collaborate with Pinellas County on some assets that we have that really should belong to Tampa Bay Water and not Pinellas County. They're in Hillsborough County. We had them when we were kind of self-reliant, but now that we're not, we're having to maintain them. And it's really more about product that needs to be in its proper place. So I would encourage staff to work closely with our staff to see what realistic conclusion we can come in an effort to collaborate better. Thank you.
Yes, Commissioner Scott.
I just want to echo what Commissioner Eggers just said about the assets that Pinellas County Utilities is maintaining that probably really should have been transferred over to Tampa Bay Water, I don't know, 30 years ago. So, thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. I do want to remind the board that it is the time of the year for the general manager's annual review. The forms have already been distributed, I believe, to everyone. If not, they will be sent out to you shortly, and we ask that you return them prior to our October meeting, and that will be held on October 21st at 9:30 a.m. Is there any additional business for today, Commissioner Scott?
Just one, can we have an update on the desal plant?
Yes, sir. The schedule, we're still on schedule to start up the first week of October. The 3 trains are finishing the 3rd train, which is the phase 1. And so they're running water through pre-treatment to make sure the water's conditioned. And they'll do shakedown, I guess, we'll call it shakedown startup, and get everything tweaked and fixed up. And so we're all ready to go early October.
Great, thank you.
12 million gallons a day up to. We're not going to turn it on in full blast. We'll ramp up to it during the month of October.
Great.
Commissioner Mariano?
Yeah, 2 questions. First one, how are we doing with the PFAF settlement? Or is there anything coming up yet? I know we got one in Pasco County's agenda tomorrow, so just wonder if we have any progress here.
Sure. There's been 2 claim periods that have opened up, and we've submitted claims for both of those. One is more of a prospective nature, and one was about actions and money we've already spent. So the last one we filed was last month. I'm not aware of any more claim periods that are open yet, but that'll just be dependent on as additional defendants reach settlement agreements with the plaintiffs. And speaking with the special counsel for Tampa Bay Water, when I've asked them if they have any estimation on what we may receive as part of our share of the settlements, they were not able to provide me an estimate yet. And they said it would be some time. I guess right now what's happening is the claims administrator is going through all the claims that were submitted, looking for additional information. So it sounded like it'll be a few more months before we even know what we may receive.
Okay. Lastly, on the C1 item, years ago, Pasco County hadn't joined the Tampa, the toilet rebate program. I was happy to see us do that. We had a good program, I think, set up. If the board wouldn't mind, I would love to work very closely with staff. I'd like to talk to the executives at Home Depot and Lowe's, as well as other suppliers that could be out there, like home remodelers, people that just do plumbing supplies, to find out what would work to trigger for them. I think if I could get that cooperation to go forward, let me get the full history, and then I think we should share all that information as we get it from staff. But I want to know the whole full history for the past 5 years, what the rebates were, how many were $40, how many were $88, how many $100, how the breakdown got done, how the multifamily part worked, and just see if I get more information to come back to say strongly what looks like a better way to go. Because I think we definitely need to go do it. I'm all about conservation, but I think we can do a lot better. So if people would allow me to that intensive with the staff, I'd appreciate it.
Can't imagine there's any objection to that by board members. And I'm sure you can work with Mr. Carden on that item. Mr. Eggers.
Yeah, two things. Any ambassadorial work is much appreciated, so work closely with staff, but thank you for that. That's always great. The other thing is Commissioner Scott made me think a little bit when he brought up the desal plant update that, again, I know it's in our thinking process that new water supply, I think it's being considered. Now that we're getting it up and operational, I worry about the overall expense of the desal plant because we're pushing salt water through versus brackish water. And I'd like to have that as a more, not only dependable, but financially attractive alternative in the long run. I know it's something we're working on. I just, maybe at some point we could get an update on the thought process on that technology change. It's probably going to be a part of our water supply project, but it is not lost on me that having it is awesome, and the work that we've done to get it there is incredible. But I also want to be able to feel good about using it, even because it's estimated to be almost 4 times as expensive to use that water. So we're always careful how we use that plant, and I would like to be able to feel more comfortable using that plant going forward. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Right, yes, Commissioner.
Yes, on that point about the desal, if we went to brackish water, I've been hearing, and I don't know the exact numbers, but we've been here, if we went to brackish water rather than the way we receive the water now, it's much cleaner and it'd be less expensive for us to use. So we need to look, I know we're looking at it in the future for that kind of project. So thank you.
All right, well, we have plenty to talk about going forward based on that conversation. And if there is nothing else, we are adjourned.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, we did not get a motion and second on receive and file.
Excuse me, ladies and gentlemen, I just need to open us for a motion to receive and file.
Motion.
Second.
All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And now we are really adjourned.
Now we're really.
How about that?